When I was at high school, I actually wanted to be a biochemist. I also really loved art, and I guess that's partly why hairdressing clicked for me. It's kind of that perfect balance of art and science. And I suppose the bonus is that our industry likes non-conformist weirdo nerds, so it kind of suits me perfectly. In this lesson, I want to show you my 3-step method for choosing the best products in a session environment, no matter what brands you use. And I'm going to share 3 common mistakes to avoid with products on a shoot. In the salon, you probably finish hair with more or less the same products as your client might use when they're at home. And so you take a bit more of a consumer-friendly approach, like you think about preheat, with heat, and finishing. So when it comes to choosing product, it's quite easy to fall into the trap of thinking like a consumer and asking, what product should I use to get whatever result? And this is the right question for a consumer, of course, because they've only got one head of hair to consider, and it's the same all the time. But for session, it's different because we're working with loads of different hair types. And hair is kind of like a fabric that you want to create shapes with. So you're trying to create a feeling or a texture as the foundation to work with, and you use product to change the way the hair feels, moves, and holds according to the outcome that you want. And we know not every head of hair we work with is going to be the same, right? So the products you choose are going to be determined by how accurately you assess the hair condition, the density, the texture, the porosity, the elasticity, etc. So what you do is you choose and combine products to get your desired end result, which, like I just said, it's about building a foundation to work with. So it's easy, do your job easier, right? If you look at it like a colorist for a second, if you had 3 different clients and they all had different hair and all 3 of them wanted to go platinum, would you use the same formula for each of them? I don't think so, right? Ideally, what you do is you'd assess the starting point, you'd come up with a personalized plan, a process or a series of processes, whatever, and formulas for each of the different heads of hair to get that one result. And so it's the same thing when you're choosing styling product. The first thing you have to ask yourself is, what's your starting point? Is the hair coarse or fine? Is it dense or sparse? Is it porous and already hard, or is it very soft and slippery? And then the second thing you want to think about is, what result are you hoping to get? Are you going to want sort of fresh, clean, soft, movable hair, or harder, gritty, dirty, lived-in hair? In other words, do you want it to move and flow naturally, or do you want it to kind of stay where you put it, more controlled and locked in? And are you going to put it up? In which case, you're going to want to add a lot more grit and grip to help the hair hold its shape. For example, this look that I'm showing you now, this was done with just half a dozen U-pins and no hairspray, and that's because the foundation that we created with the products was so strong. Now, the third thing you need to ask is, are you going to change the hair throughout the day? Because if there's a bunch of different looks and changes, you want to make sure the products you choose and the order that you do it in is going to allow you to build throughout the day. Sort of starting with the fresh, flexible moving, and then ending with the more producty look last. This is especially important if you're doing a dry look and a wet look on the same talent on the same day. It might kind of seem counterintuitive to most, and usually it's best to start with the dry look and finish with the wet look. We'll go into specific products and combos for specific looks later in another program, and it might make a bit more sense then. So based on those 3 questions and then your desired outcome, what you then need to decide is, do you want to soften the hair? Do you want to harden the hair, or do you want to balance the texture of the hair so that it's more even roots to end so you can get the result you're after? If you want to soften the hair, you're going to look for products that have a high proportion of silicates or glycerol in the ingredients. So the primary ingredients that are used for softening, moisturizing, and shine in products like moisturizers, moisturizing foams, styling lotions and creams, etc., are kind of silicates and glycerols. If you want to harden the hair, then you're going to use volumizers and thickeners and products that have a high proportion of acrylates or copolymers. These are kind of the glue-like ingredients that make gels and hairsprays and setting lotions, etc. work. So how do you choose? Well, pretty simple. Look at the ingredient list on the back of the can or the bottle and science the shit out of it. Your ingredients are listed in the order of concentration from most concentrated to least concentrated. So the first one listed is going to be the most ingredient, the second one will be the second most, and so on until you get to the last ingredient, which has the smallest concentration in it, and may even be sort of insignificant. So your mission: go to your product stand, your cupboard, your gear bag, whatever. Look at all the ingredients and sort your products into hardening and softening products. Okay, so now I want to share with you 3 product mistakes to avoid on photo shoots. The first one is using hairspray in hard light. So in certain lighting conditions, hairspray can read really clunky and sticky. It can even look like little bits of dust or dirt on the hair. And the reason for that is that the product sits on the outside of the hair shaft like little globes, right, or globules or spheres, and those spheres reflect the light like spheres, and that can sometimes read super weird on camera. Sometimes it just looks sort of cheap and plasticky and a bit shit, to be honest. The second thing to avoid is oils, silicons, pastes, waxes, etc. Certain products describe themselves as oils, but they're actually silicone based. So make sure you read your ingredients list. Some silicone products, while they might look nice and pretty to the naked eye, they can read very greasy and gluggy and patchy on camera. And if the product is actually a pure oil and you use too much of it, it's going to make the hair really greasy and wet. And then the third thing, non-aerosol sprays or heat protectors can look patchy. Now, of course, they're environmentally lovely because they don't have any propellants in them. They just got the muscle of your finger. But the downside is it can be harder to get even distribution on the hair. It can leave patches because the light reflects differently off the hair with less product as opposed to the more product. And you might not even see it with the naked eye, but when you look at it on camera, you'll have darker patches throughout the hair because, you know, the camera tells it like it is.